So, talking about heat, talked about hyperthermia, we've talked about heat stress and how preventable it is. Also, we talked about convection, convective heat exchange. What is that? By your medium around you. It can be air. What else could it be? Could be water. Conductive heat exchange. We talked about that. Every time you touch something, there's going to be conductive heat exchange. Either you're gaining or losing heat. So as it says, it's heat exchange, not heat gain. Environmental concerns, heat stress. Heat stress is preventable. All right, did I go the wrong way? Yep. Convective, conductive, radiant. All right, evaporative heat loss. Did any of y'all ever had a class with a real chalkboard? Real chalkboard. So yeah, the green chalkboard? And all day long, the teacher's working on it. And then after the end of school, there's always the teacher's pet who will go down and get the sponge, put some water on it, right? Because I was him. And what are they going to do? They're going to do that. And what happens? The chalkboard turns a little darker, doesn't it? Right? Because it has what on there? Water. And then what happens? It dries. Well, where does it go? It does go into the air. All right? So it's evaporative. So that is your evaporative heat loss. How do you do it? How's evaporative heat loss work with a person? You guess you have sweat and no, and what happens to the sweat? It evaporates. And that cools. How about little babies? You ever hear about little babies having a fever and they say to put rubbing alcohol on them? Why? Huh? It's because it evaporates faster. So the evaporative heat loss is actually at a better rate than what it is with just sweat. You shouldn't put just alcohol in your ear, but alcohol will dry that up. Will help dry it up. Evaporation. So the sweat glands in the skin allow water to be transported to the surface, where that water will evaporate, and that evaporation process takes large quantities of heat with it. Okay? When the temperature and the radiant heat of the environment become higher than body temp, loss of body heat becomes highly dependent on the process of heat evaporation. There's something in our air that can cause this to really slow down. What would that be? No. More water. We call that what? Humidity. We have high humidity. We've got a high chance of heat illness. So you can sweat about 1 quart for about 2 hours. How many quarts are in a gallon? 4 quarts. So if I only go 1 quart per hour for 2 hours, I can only get rid of 2 quarts. How much water weight then am I going to lose through evaporation through sweat? About 4 pounds, because water is 8 pounds a gallon. All right? So when it's hot and it's humid, a lot of times what you'll see where they have to come in and weigh the athlete, and then after practice they come in and weigh. When they do that, what should they wear? Huh? Nope. Sort of, kind of, but they should wear nothing. Should be naked. When they get on, and when they come back in, they're naked again. Just think of this. If I go out and I've got my T-shirt and my shorts, I go out, I sweat, so I weigh, and I weigh a certain amount. And then when I come back in, what's all in my T-shirt? And then, is it inside of me? No. So am I getting a really true value of how much water weight I've lost? No, because it's in that. It's in the clothes. So if I get on naked, all right, I know exactly how much I weigh. If I get on naked again, I know exactly how much I weigh. Not how much my shirt weighs, Not how much sweat's being held in by the cotton, how much I weigh. All right. So the sweating doesn't cool. It's the evaporation process that does. Well, here's the whole thing. The air has got to have, it can't have too much water in it. If it does, it can't come in across your skin and evaporate it because it's already full. All right? So if it's humid outside, like it is today, you're not going to have that evaporative heat loss because the air coming across it's already full. So that's a tough thing here in the Houston area because we're next to the Gulf. It's always humid. August, it's always hot. All right. Now, remember when we did the stuff for? No, we didn't do it in this class yet. Y'all didn't do emergency action plans, right? All right. Well, I'll tell you about this guy named Corey Stringer. Okay. He played for the Minnesota Vikings. Great big guy. Is that a football team? Yeah, it is. It's one of the original NFL teams. They've been around for about 75 years. All right, and so Adrian Peterson plays on that team now. So he was at training camp. Now this training camp was way up north, up there in Minnesota. So in August, it was only in the 80s up there, compared to almost 100 down here. And I don't even think it was above 90. And he died of heat stroke. All right? The humidity up there can sometimes get as bad as it is here with the Great Lakes around. Couldn't get rid of his heat. Couldn't get rid of his heat. Ended up dying. So here's your thing: is that even at 65% humidity, you're at an impaired evaporative heat loss. 75, you pretty much aren't going to have any of your evaporative heat loss. So heat illness increases as does the humidity increase. Humidity goes up, so does heat illness. Not a cool thing. Heat plus humidity plus sunshine equals caution, and thus you must use what's called a sling psychrometer. Now the old ones, really, you did sling them. All right? There was two tubes. You had a tube, you pulled it out, and in that tube there were two thermometers. You would take one thermometer and put a cotton tip on it and wet it. And the other one you just left alone, and that thermometer was just open. And then you swung it around. Okay? So what would happen to the one that was wet? Would it actually show what the temperature is? What would it show you? It'd be higher or lower than what the temperature? It would be lower because you're getting evaporation off of the water from that piece of cotton on there. So you stop and you look at it, and let's say that the one was 95 degrees, the dry bulb. So that's how hot it is. It's 95 degrees. The other one might be 85 degrees. From the evaporation, it cooled off. So then I put it together, and they have a little scale on the side, and we match 95 and 85, and then beside it would tell you what the percent was for humidity. It's probably quite a bit higher than that. Fine? So now today, you don't have to have that. We've got that little machine that's on the tripod. All right? It'll do it all for you without having to sling psychrometer. The sling psychrometer, you probably pick it up for maybe $50. The other one you pick up for about $900. But I bet you that new one's more accurate since you're working with circuit boards and etc. So you need to know what your humidity is and your temperature. Heat illness, you have heat rash, heat syncope, heat cramp, heat exhaustion, and heat stroke. All right. Also, heat rash, also known as prickly heat. You get raised red rash accompanied by sensations of prickly or tingling during sweating. Where are you going to find this, say, on a football player? Yeah. Why? Because that's where you're covered. Where else might you find it? Your thigh pads, your knee pads, especially your thigh pads, because you're sweating, right? Those thigh pads are just vinyl dip. They're not absorbing any of that sweat. So there it is, the sweat just sitting on your pores. Am I who? Am I what? Yeah, that's how we do the YouTube. So I'm sitting there, and I've got those thigh pads on. It has no place to go away. So what's going to happen to my skin? Whoa, it's going to get too stinky, right? And so my pores are opened up because I'm trying to get rid of this heat, but I can't get rid of this sweat. And so, yeah, they get all red and rashy. All right? Usually occurs when the skin is continually wet with unevaporated sweat. So, when you're cooling someone off, get the towels. You know, we've used ice towels before, right? All right? So don't just worry about their face. Grab their arm. Ice down their arm. What am I doing? I'm taking off the salt. I'm if those electrolytes that come out, the salt that comes out, will clog up the pores so more heat can't get through. So I can wipe it off. Get done with that. They got some legs showing. Wipe your legs. The best place is right there on their ears. Oh, that feels so good. All right. So towel the body can help prevent from heat rash. All right. Anybody ever gone to Six Flags? You have? Especially if you go in the summer. And there's always that big person, really big person, right? That faints while waiting in line. Oh, I can't stand that. And then, of course, here come the EMTs, and that makes the line even slower now, right? Also known as heat collapse, associated with rapid fatigue during overexposure to heat caused by standing in heat for long periods, not being accustomed to exercising, thus why they were so big. You get pooling of the blood in the extremities. So we talked the other day about how the blood wants to go to the extremities to get closer to the skin, to get rid of the heat. For this person, they're so big that the pooling just pools out there. And so they don't have enough blood to go to their head to feed them that oxygen. So up they faint. So they need to lay down. They need to replace their fluids. They need to cool off. And then they're out there. They'll do it again. All right. What's the next one? Heat cramps. I've got heat cramps. Painful muscle spasms that occur most commonly in the calf and abdomen. Has anybody ever had heat cramps? None of you? You have? Not just like a cramp, but just because you got hit in it or something. That you've been out exerting yourself so much and your electrolytes are so low that your muscles just go wham. And that's it, huh? Oh, now you'll know this. How about taking every muscle in your body, from your toes all the way to your chin, and contract it, and you can't get rid of it. You can't uncontract it. I've seen this. We had a guy up at training camp one time. That's what happened. His toes were curled. All right. His fingers were all in like so. His stomach was no, yeah. You are contracting. I think just contracting. All right. So these cramps were going on. We had to get him out. Remember we talked about weighing somebody before and after practice? He had lost 16 pounds. 16 pounds in one practice. Yeah. So he had lost all of his electrolytes. So it can be prevented by adequate replacement of sodium chloride. What's sodium chloride together? NaCl. Huh? Salt. Sodium chloride, potassium, magnesium, calcium, and water. All right? It can't just be water because you can be hydrated but yet not have all of your electrolytes. All right? So your fluid levels up, but your electrolytes are out of balance. So you can still cramp because of that. So you got to make sure that during that time, salt your food a little more, take your one-a-day vitamin. All right? You get from getting those heat cramps. We can get somebody over. There we go. Heat exhaustion. It's not heat stroke, but heat exhaustion. Heat exhaustion is before heat stroke, caused by inadequate replacement of fluid. The athlete will collapse, profuse. Now, this is the big thing. They have profuse sweating. They're still sweating. Got it? Heat exhaustion. They are still sweating, have pale skin, mildly elevated temperature, dizziness, hyperventilation, and rapid pulse. All right? Fortunately, these coaches know what heat exhaustion is. Unfortunately, for the people here at Magnolia West, our coaches see this, immediately they send them in. Now, unfortunately, this is not the most best air-conditioned building, at least in our room, it's not, for cooling somebody back down. Cool towels, take some towels, put them in ice water, bring them out, put them on them. Get a fan, have them blow on them, okay? Now, again, they are sweating still. What happens when they quit sweating? Heat stroke. All right? We talked about those two kids that had heat stroke up in Dallas, right? Ran 1,600-yard dashes after a 3-hour practice. One of them died. One of them recovered from heat stroke. But you know, it takes a long time to recover from heat stroke. Yeah. Yeah. 6 weeks. Oh, yeah. Your body is cooking. All right? So it is serious, and it's a life-threatening situation. You will die. You will systematically one piece shut down, followed by another, followed by another, followed by another. If you're too hot long enough, whether I get your temperature down or not, I've already done so much damage, it's not coming back. And then in a few hours, you're not coming back. All right? So your core temperature is 106 degrees or higher. How are you going to find out a core temperature? Huh? What do you think? You're going to just put it in like they're dead? No. Okay. Anybody got a dog? What? It is. Yeah, you take your temperature like they take their puppies at the vet in their behind. Now there is another way, but it's cost prohibitive for us. Okay? So let's say that you've got somebody who's fair skinned and freckles. They make a pill that you give somebody, and so she takes the pill, all right? She takes my little medicine deal, and I can walk behind her, and that's going to transmit to me what her temperature is in her core. Exactly, really, really seriously. It'll stay for about 2 days, and then it'll pass through. We'll go into that after a while. What?
And like you start seeing like purple dots and then it goes black and then you can't see. Oh.
Anyway, that is how you get to your core temp. Those little pills are $25 a piece. So since they're $25 a piece, I can't really afford to keep going out and buying these pills. And I promise you, when she gets done with that pill, nobody else is going to want it. Okay? Yes, it passes through the body. So, $25, there it is. If you're at 106 degrees, you're cooking your body. Your kidneys are going, uh-oh. Or I feel like Orville Redenbacher popcorn. All right? Not good stuff. You lose your ability to lose heat with sweating because you quit sweating. You need to get that athlete absolutely to the ER as soon as possible. It is a life-threatening emergency. So, heat stroke. The problem is, though, is that heat stroke is entirely preventable. All right? as a football coach, a baseball coach, as any kind of coach, it is your job, number one job, is to make sure. Yeah, you got to win games, but you know what your number one job is? Is that every kid that you take out to practice every day is able to come in to practice, come in off that field every day. All right? You never leave one behind, and you never leave them ignored to where they got heat stroke. All right? It is preventable. And it's the number one job that you're going to make it your priorities to eliminate the possibility of having heat problems. And as far as in knock on wood, we do a pretty good job of making sure that we don't have heat problems. All right? So